Okay, that's awesome.
JewishJournal.com.
Yeah.
There you go.
There
Okay.
you go. I'm going
We're
to begin recording here. Okay. Hi folks, I'm Luke Ford with Video Jew J. Firestone of the JewishJournal.com. So just go to JewishJournal.com, and it's a great source of news and opinions and blogs and video streaming about the Jewish world coming from Los Angeles. And Jay, how long have you been with the Journal?
I've been with the Journal for
Oh!
about almost 5.5 years, actually. And this is just a gimmick that we use when interviewing people. So
I like it. Yeah.
I can hold it up, and makes us look very professional, and we are. We have let's see. So I've been with them basically since I graduated from college.
Where did you go to school and what did you study?
I studied philosophy and political science at the University of Wisconsin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how did you find the Jewish Journal, and how did they find you?
This is actually a nice story. I was a cartoonist my senior year of college. I had Daily Strip, and that got me into writing, albeit just a joke a day, but still I wanted to be a humor columnist or a comedic writer. Mm-hmm. And so I came out to LA naturally. It was kind of in the peak of the Entourage. I had this,
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah, I'll come out there, and that's, it's gonna be just like that. So I wanted to be a comedy writer, and I think that was right around the writer's strike. So I had some difficulty finding work. So I was an extra actually for a few months.
I did that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, it's fun.
Just a lot of, like hurry up and wait. Yeah.
Yeah, hang out across the service table.
Mm-hmm.
Meet a lot of girls that way.
Yeah, it's meet a lot of interesting people. I'd say.
Yeah.
And I was also teaching religious school, so that's something I'd done for about 9 years.
Yeah.
So I knew about the Jewish Journal. I had always been involved in my local Jewish community.
Yeah.
And I basically got fed up with being an extra, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna call the Jewish Journal and see if there are any internships available. So I did, and Rob Eshman answered the phone, I was transferred to him, and we talked. I came in for an interview, and the rest is history. So it was beshert.
And how did you get the title Video Jew?
That's actually something I came up with myself. About a year into my internship, I'd just been made an editorial assistant on staff. Rob asked me to start video blogging. We had to, increase our web and multimedia presence, and he gave me a camera. He didn't know that I actually had some video editing background. Mm-hmm. I'd done it in high school a little bit. So he asked me to cover a community event, and I did, and it was fun. And then I broke the story on the kosher subway on Pico a few years ago. Not really break the story, but I covered it. And then I just decided I needed a name. At the time, we had something called Hollywood Jew. A brand new blog, which you may be familiar with.
Yeah.
So I said, you know what, I'll be Video Jew, and that's kind of where it came from. And I did about, I guess I've done about 20 or 30 videos, and they've done pretty well. So it was definitely a fun period of my life.
And did you have any background in video production, web production?
I had a little bit of background in video production. I took a senior video class my senior year of high school, so I knew how to use Adobe Premiere. I knew the basics of video editing.
Right.
I knew how to hold a camera, and it kind of all came back to me when I started at the Journal. So it was. And since I've been doing it, I've been now video editing on like a weekly basis for 5.5 years. So.
What do you edit with?
Final Cut.
Okay.
We
purchased.
It's not an illegal copy.
Okay,
a lot of people have illegal copies of Final Cut. We
do
not have one. We paid for ours. So.
And was it hard to learn?
And that's actually pretty easy. You start on something called iMovie. It's what everyone kind of uses. It comes free with the with Macs, and it's kind of just understanding what a timeline is. You get your video segment, you paste it in there, you just chop it up. It's very intuitive, I think. Do you edit video?
Yeah, but very little. I use Sony Vegas.
Okay, I haven't used that, but
I love
I've
it.
heard pretty good things about it. So
I do very little editing, as anyone has watched any of my videos knows, but occasionally I'll do a little bit here and there. And Sony Vegas is easy. It's easy to like cut out bits and then just post them together. And
yeah, I've tried a little bit of animation, and that's always kind of difficult because I'm a cartoonist, as a hobby.
yeah.
But I'm not an animator, so sometimes I'll try and draw one thing and then change it slightly, and then use the frames to try and animate it, and it doesn't really work out so well. But there is a video Jew that I did for Tribe Fest last year, in which I animated a bunch of Photoshop images, and it looks like a video game. It was pretty cool.
And where are you from?
From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Big Steeler fan. And,
Okay.
yeah. Have you ever been to Pittsburgh?
No, but I came to America in 1977, and
That was right when they were winning Super Bowls.
to try to acculturate, some of the teachers around me encouraged me to use the library in my school.
Mm-hmm.
Previous to that, I was just going to the college library and reading books on history and stuff like that. So now they try to get me to read books for people my own age.
Yeah.
So I found all these books about Roger Staubach and Tom Landry, and so I became a Dallas Cowboys fan. And then the first Super Bowl I ever watched was in January 1979 when the Steelers won 35-31.
Yep.
Absolutely heartbreaking. The Cowboys would not win another Super Bowl for 14 years after that. It was just absolutely devastating. And so Pittsburgh is such a dirty name to me that when I play games with my girlfriends, the safe word is Pittsburgh. Like if I'm ever going too far,
So they beat.
I just
Dallas
tell
and-
a few years ago, 10 years ago. But in the 70s, we lost twice. They were epic Super Bowls. I mean, they were awesome.
They were pretty
awesome,
amazing, yeah.
epic Super Bowls.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I just tell my girlfriend, if you ever want me to stop, just say Pittsburgh. And I just stop. So, yeah, Pittsburgh, wow. And what kind of background do you come from Jewishly?
So I grew up in a conservative household. I actually went to shul every week,
Wow.
every Saturday morning. And my father's side of the family is Orthodox, and we were raised very kosher. His family came from Eastern Europe, and I can actually learn Torah as well.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell any rabbis that though, because it's hard for me to find some time to
To
practice.
brush up.
Yeah,
You
I
really
know.
need to brush up.
I would get a lot of phone calls in high school. I'd have to lay in there every week, and it's actually it's a mitzvah. It's a wonderful thing, but when you're in high school and you're pretty lazy, it's tough.
How did you end up at the University of Wisconsin?
Well, I knew I wanted a Big Ten school. My sisters had gone to University of Michigan, so that was an option, and Wisconsin was an option. And I think a part of me really wanted to distance myself from their shadow, their older sisters. So I kind of wanted my own, set my own path. Though I guess I liked the really cold weather too. It got down to like negative 70-degree wind chill my first year. Crazy.
Crazy.
That is exactly why I moved out west. That's one of the reasons. Yeah.
Oh my.
Crazy. Your face is about to fall off. Your nose is like is frostbite. It's awful.
That's awful. I couldn't imagine living under those conditions.
But speaking of the Steelers in Pittsburgh, my senior year they went to the Super Bowl, and I staged a pep rally in the middle of campus. It was huge, and the cops actually kicked me off. I didn't have the appropriate permits, but I got a little write up in some online website. It's pretty funny though.
And who did the Steelers beat that year? Was it Seattle?
Yeah, it was Seattle. Not a great Super Bowl, but
No.
Still, win's a win. It was the first one of my life. Yeah.
Wow. And you've won more since.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you had lost to Green Bay.
Lost to Green Bay. That's okay. We should have lost that game. That was a good game. I mean,
Yeah, it was a good game.
They were the better team.
Though if your running back hadn't fumbled, I think you would have won.
It's true. Yeah, Mendenhall. That was
Crush. That was crushing.
That was very crushing.
So you came out to LA, you start working for the Jewish Journal, and start making videos, and you start getting a lot of hits. So
yeah, it was
you must
fun.
have known that you were
I'll
doing
tell you right
something
now,
right.
it was a big ego boost at first. You know, when
Yeah.
your video gets like about 10,000 in a week, it was I had to really just kind of distance myself a little bit because it can get to your head.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually nothing compared to like what a lot of people get. So I mean, it's really nothing, but
Well, you've got a niche.
yeah, you know, it's fun, and what I pride myself on is that it's all real news.
Yeah.
You know, the videos themselves, they're fun in nature, but all the news there is actually real. I don't fake any interviews. You know, all the stories are actually legitimate. It's just a certain style that's kind of different. Well, I think one of my favorites is the mahjong and the kosher water. That's a good one. I was just
yeah.
I was just checking my email recently. I was looking for your address, and before we had been in touch this past time, the last email I had received from you was confirmation that you had posted my kosher water story. That was back in 2008 or 2009.
Oh wow! So we haven't
beat
emailed.
me to it. Yeah, I sent it to you, and you beat me to it. So
Yeah.
that was pretty funny.
You haven't made any videos for a while.
I have been more behind the scenes.
Yeah.
The last official video Jew that I did was last March from Vegas. It was the Tribe Fest one, and it was HD also, so that was exciting. But since then, I've been making a lot of videos with Rob Eshman for his blog Foodism. We make how to make blintzes. We actually invented a recipe for Hanukkah, the double down latke sandwich, which is kind of like the KFC double down chicken sandwich, which has fried chicken on both sides. This has latkes on both sides. So we do stuff like that, and I've been producing a lot of live streaming.
Yeah, I noticed when did that start? Was it about 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, we started doing it 3 or 4 years ago, but that, you know, I didn't really know what I was doing. We just had a camera hooked up to a computer, and that's great. You know, the fact that we could do that. And since then, you know, as of last month, we just did a 2-camera HD shoot, and that was about 2 hours. It was a Shabbat service. And then
which one was it? Temple Judea?
Neshuva.
No, Neshuva. Oh,
yeah, we're actually
Rob's wife's.
Yeah, well, I'm a member there, so
okay.
But that's not why actually that service we've been streaming
monthly.
Well,
it's a monthly service.
It's a monthly service, but their service was done through on Kol Nidre.
Yeah.
The Jewish television network was doing that for a while.
Yeah.
So we took that over when that kind of dissolved. So we already had the infrastructure set up to do their service, so that's why. But
there's no Jewish television network anymore?
I don't know. There is. It might be a function of AJU.
Okay.
I don't actually know if, but I haven't really seen. Actually, no, they still have a website, so they're probably still around.
Okay.
I just know that Jay Sanderson is now at the Federation. But if you're watching and you have a service that you would like to stream live, feel free to email webmaster@jewishjournal.com. We're trying to host as many Shabbat services as possible. So, you know, we did the one with the Shuva, and then we hosted the live stream for Bet Chaim Hadishim 2 weeks ago. We hosted Temple Judea 2 weeks ago. They actually already do their own live streaming.
Oh,
so,
okay.
You know, I'd rather not take my Shabbat and go streaming everywhere.
Yeah.
But so it's nice to host those. But yeah, we're doing a lot of actually. And last April, or at the end of April, JewishJournal.com produced the live stream for the Jerusalem Post's annual convention. So they had the conference. They had their first annual conference in New York, at Times Square, the Marriott Times Square, and I was set up with the Jewish channel, and we streamed it live for 13, 14 hours.
Wow.
It was really intense.
And you were there?
Yeah, I was. We worked with a director from the Jewish channel who actually had 3 or 4 cameramen, and so we were back and forth. But the two companies, the Jewish channel and JewishJournal.com, produced it. It was a lot of work. And you know, when you're doing something like that, it's like 13, 14 hours. That's just how long the actual shoot is. But we were up since like 2 a.m., so it was a very long day. A lot of work involved. But we're really looking to to do more live streaming. So that's
And so you don't use Ustream, you use Livestream.
livestream.com.
How do you like that?
I actually love it. They have a support line, and they have a lot of innovating products. They have like something like it's like a box which you can just put on your HD camera, and it automatically streams it to your account. So you can do it wirelessly if you want.
Oh, sweet.
Yes, and you just plug in one of the MiFi devices or one of the USB ones, and then you can go directly. But I actually have news that I wanted to break here for you.
Yeah, cool, fantastic.
So no one else has this story yet. The Jewish Journal, as you may know, we have an iPad app, and we have an iPhone, we have Android and Kindle Fire. So we just released our latest update for the iPad app, which it's probably the best Jewish news app that's available in the App Store. And the coolest feature, I'd say, is a geo map. It's basically you can just search for nearest kosher restaurants or synagogues in your area.
Oh, sweet.
So I haven't downloaded it yet, but I was going to do it on the...
oh, cool.
Yeah, while we're here.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I'll show you.
So you go to jewishjournal.com.
You can go to jewishjournal.com/mobile.
Okay.
Or you can also go to the iTunes store,
Right.
the App Store, do a search for Jewish Journal. So I'm going to do that right now. Jewish Journal. Update. Okay, type in my password. No one's looking. I hope. You got to protect your passwords. You know that's
exactly better than LinkedIn does.
Yeah, that's
That's terrible.
That's really scary.
They do nothing for security. They got the most amateurish security. They don't give a damn. They gave away like 30 million passwords.
Here we go. So this is my Jewish Journal, which right here. I hope I wasn't right in the line. So.
Okay, cool.
So here's a little info, which says like what's going on, and here we have our news story, different sections. But right here, this little button.
Yeah.
This is a pin, and if you click that, you get a map.
Oh, cool.
Welcome to Jewish Journal Community Guide. And all this stuff is filtered in through by Google, but you can do a search for food. It's kind of hard to do this upside down.
Yeah.
There we go. Kosher restaurants. And let's do it in the current location within 3 miles because we're in Pico Robertson, so.
Yeah. So you might have one or two.
Yeah.
Oh, they come out by ratings. Cool.
Yeah.
So it says Jeff's Gourmet, Charlotte's Steakhouse, got kosher. Let's see.
Got kosher.
Oh.
And you can even get directions.
Get the website.
Oh
man, that's awesome.
It's a very
How many
cool
people
app.
have downloaded the app for the iPhone, the Jewish Journal?
For the iPhone, I think it's over 2,000 or so. For the iPad, it's close to 7,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for all of our mobile devices, we're over 10,000.
Oh, cool.
So, and we're growing. You know, every day there's this a ton more. I don't track it every day, but yeah, we're doing really well.
So, what percentage of your traffic would be mobile to jewishjournal.com? I think like 10% of mine is, 10 to 20%.
Well,
it's doubling every year or so, right?
You can look at traffic. So when you're actually analyzing your traffic, you can see if someone's coming from a mobile device. But that doesn't mean that they're visiting from your app. So we actually have a separate analytics tool just for monitoring our app traffic.
Yeah.
I haven't checked what the mobile traffic is. It's actually dropped since we launched.
Because of course people go with the app. And so
yeah. But you know, all of our blogs are featured on the mobile device. We have slideshows and videos. We will be developing our video section, and offering our live videos on the iPad. They're currently offered on the iPad right now, but we're going to develop a section specifically for that too. But right now, you know, you got to use the community guide. It's the fastest way to find a kosher restaurant or synagogue or Judaica shop. So if your aunt is in town and you need to take her to dinner and to shul and then buy her a nice necklace, then definitely use our community guide.
I started going with the BlackBerry like 4 or 5 years ago, and I feel like I've got
you have a BlackBerry now?
Dying.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry for you.
I've been using the BlackBerry like the last 5 years, and
well, I have been.
I'm reluctant to switch, because I can always get a new BlackBerry for $50 or something.
Right, but you can get a new iPhone. I mean, this is an old iPhone.
Right. How much does a new iPhone cost? $250?
It depends if you have.
What kind of plan?
Yeah. So I think probably $400 if you sign a contract, or if you don't sign a contract.
Right.
And if you sign a contract, I think it drops down to $200 or something like that. So I've been waiting for the iPhone 5. I heard that was Steve Jobs' last project that he worked on. So I'm kind of hoping that it wows me. But yeah, there's a lot of cool technology out there right now.
So what do you need to stream an event on the Jewish Journal when it's just you, no co-production?
It used to be just me with a camera plugged into my laptop. So
really?
Yeah, for a long time that's what it was.
And then what kind of internet connection would you have?
It's
just a regular.
It's best to have a direct line.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't really want to stream over wireless because I can go in and out.
Yeah.
When I use this little MiFi device for streaming, I actually plug it into my computer, so it's not relying on the wireless. But it's pretty good. But I think if you want to do a decent shoot, you want to have a cameraman who knows how to or when to zoom in and when to zoom out. Yeah. And maybe even using multiple cameras. Yeah. It just looks more professional. But that's just if you're doing like a conference or like a concert. But for just interviews, then one camera's fine. Which, I mean, your setup is pretty awesome.
Yeah, because I'm just doing interviews, so
like this. It very
works.
Cool. Mm-hmm.
So, are you full time, or is this a part time thing for you?
Actually, is full time, and it takes up all my time. Yeah. So, the news never stops. Yeah. So one thing that I have to do with the journal is controlling what's on the homepage. Yeah. And it takes a certain amount of judgment. Yeah. And understanding what's the most important story in the Jewish world. Yeah. So you're always posting, and I have a really good team that we work with. So I have a web manager and social media manager and a blog manager. So it's a lot. We have like about 80 blogs. Every day we have a new blog, and that's one of the best parts about working at the journal is that you have so many different people and opinions. This is like where everyone's opinion just kind of melds. Yeah. It's one big melting pot.
So I noticed with the main stories, they're usually wire stories. Then maybe 25% are Jewish Journal's particular unique stories. Right. Yeah. So it's like 50% of the time it's news about Israel when I log on to the Jewish Journal. It's the main story.
Big one. Well, that's like the big news in the world. Israel is breaking news every single day, and I wouldn't say that the Los Angeles Jewish community that they're not, but for our readers who are actually international, we need to appeal to everyone. But on the weekends, if you notice, on Friday we'll usually always have our cover story from the paper. We want people to read that story, so it's around half the day on Friday, all day on Shabbos, and then half the day on Sunday as well. So that's kind of like our feature, and but the rest of the time the news it has to change. It's a competitive world. So you have websites like JTA and the Forward and Tablet. There's a lot going on, so we need to stay competitive.
The JewishJournal.com domain seems to be moving a lot smoother and quicker over the last year or so. I don't know if something happened. Yeah. It used to be so clunky.
Right, yes. So, we're always... I think we grow too quickly. That happens a lot.
There's just too much stuff and it's just got too heavy or something.
Our traffic has been really growing a lot the past few years, and it took us a little while to upgrade our servers, and now we've reached a point where we're a little more comfortable and we have a better plan, in case something happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the reason is because traffic's been so good. There's so many people that are getting
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to get frustrated often I'd log on.
Well, you can email me, webmaster.
Okay. Yeah, and it wouldn't move.
I love
the blogs took forever.
I love it when people complain because it helps us solve the problem.
Right.
So
it's good. It's good to have feedback.
Mm-hmm. So what are your favorite blogs?
I love Rosner's Domain.
He's a genius. He really is.
I mean, he's just so centrist. He's like to accuse him of bias to either the right or the left is he's just very centrist.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite blog on there is Rosner's Domain. I read that every day. His must reads.
Yeah.
I love that.
And what do you think of the J meter? Have you been following that at all?
Don't even know. Oh, don't even know what the J meter is.
So if you're on, I actually spent some time working on this with him, designing it. So.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, I see that, and I can't figure that out because it keeps saying that it seems to equate Romney and Obama and Israel.
So there's different features of the J meter. You have the Israel factor, and so if you click on that, you'll see like where they stand.
Yeah, it's various experts rating the candidates.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay, they're the panelists. Okay.
Yeah. And then you have beneath that you have U.S. Jewish party identification. I guess 22% of U.S. Jews are in favor of Republicans.
Where do you see? Oh, there it is.
That's a different section. And then
22% in favor. Oh, okay. Senate projection. Negative one.
Lose one, yeah.
The Republicans are going to lose one?
No, that's the Jews.
Oh, the Jews are going to lose one.
Yeah.
House are going to lose 3.
The right-wing coalition has
69 seats. Oh, and Netanyahu's approval rating.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's really valuable. You can click on each one of those and get a longer story.
Israel favorability, is that with Americans?
I believe so, yeah. Let's click on that.
Oh, yeah.
Let's follow that. So if you're watching this right now, we're at jewishjournal.com/Rosner's Domain.
Yeah.
And then on the right column, there's something called the J meter, and that just kind of tracks basically U.S. American politics and its relationship to Israel and Judaism.
Okay, and the U.S. dollar is worth about 4 shekels.
Mm-hmm. So it's amazing what he's doing. He's a machine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So much content.
So much content, and it's really fair.
Mm-hmm.
He's huge. I read him every day. I come to the Jewish Journal every morning while I'm eating breakfast, and my eye immediately goes to what Shmuel Rosner's talking about. Then I scan a Hollywood Jew and see if anything jumps out at me.
This is a fun one that she just wrote today.
J-Date
care about Jewish weddings. She's just commenting humorously on a blog.
Yeah.
So it's not that hardcore.
Yeah. No, a lot of them are just like fun little items.
Yeah.
And then some of them like really blow you away. They're like,
we have 2 bloggers. They're really special. They review movies. It's called 2 Jews on Film.
Yeah, I see that. I haven't read that blog yet, but I see it popping up.
But they do it on video too. So it's a video blog, and they have the written review. So it's really funny to watch. They're just very quirky.
And I love coming here to this app because I can see the latest blog posts.
Mm-hmm.
So every morning I scroll down here. I might read Rabbi Rosso.
Yeah. Temple Israel Hollywood.
I saw him write about Jehovah's Witnesses. Mm-hmm. Of course, Rosner's Domain. Anything compelling Hollywood Jew, I'll click it.
Yeah, it's fun. We have a lot of interesting religion blogs. We
have, like you have a Mormon one that I read sometimes. Mormon and Jews.
Jews and Mormons. We don't have necessarily a Christianity blog, but we have a more.
Well, you have Brad Greenberg.
That's true,
essentially because he's a Christian.
Yeah.
He writes the God blog.
I call him the Daywalker because he's got the Brad Greenberg, but then he's actually not Jewish. He's got the best of
right.
Yeah.
The God blog. I mean, he started out of the Daily News and then brought it to the Jewish Journal.
He's great. Yeah, Brad
profiled me for the Jewish Journal about 5 years ago.
Serial blogger.
I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think the worst written blog that I read on Jewish journalism, which I'm sure is like all sorts of different people contributing. Right?
They're from all over the world.
Yeah, so some of them English is like a fourth language.
So we're actually working with them to kind of edit that. But a part of what's great about our blogs is how raw they are.
Yeah.
They're unedited.
Yeah.
Mostly unedited, I should say.
Yeah. And
we just give our bloggers freedom.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people like it, because it doesn't necessarily go through that editorial process.
Yeah, it doesn't get sanitized.
It's real people's voices.
Yeah, absolutely. I love...
He's really funny, Elliot Steingart.
Oh, I haven't read him. He's
a singles blogger.
Oh, dating.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I have read that.
His blog is
some really
slashing.
Yeah. Really... Yeah, that's some really edgy stuff.
I actually know Elliot from Pittsburgh. We grew up together.
Oh, really?
We weren't really close at all growing up, but we reconnected out here, and he's a really just funny guy, and he loves Jews. So. And
he's a stand-up comic,
yeah, he is.
He's a comedy writer.
Yeah, he used to host an open mic night, or he used to host actually a comedy show, not an open mic night. I know he's written a few jokes for the Chabad Telethon too, in the heyday.
Yeah, I have read it. Some of it's really funny. This time, I'm tired of writing about myself, so I asked my girlfriend to write about me. Mm-hmm. I enjoy dating columnists, 20-something dating columnists. I'm trying to remember her name. Alana?
Alana Angel?
No. The 20-something one.
Tamara
Shane Diegel.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah,
she's really funny.
Yeah, she's really honest sometimes. It's just incredible amount of honesty.
I watched her interview that you did.
Yeah, I did like a 2-hour interview with her, and it's just like effortless. She's just very honest and stands behind her words. Like so often I interview people, and then they'll go, "Oh, can you take out the bit where I said X?" And I hate that. I hate that. Just don't say anything that you're not willing to stand behind.
Right.
I don't like to be bothered. And she didn't do that at all. Like, she was so honest that I was actually concerned for her. And so I said, is it okay if I, take segments and, highlight, is it okay if I transcribe? And, she was fine with everything. Mm-hmm. And so it was just such a relief because... There's nothing I find, you can give me your perspective, I find that there's nothing people enjoy more than talking about themselves, and nothing that they hate more than seeing it end up in print.
And watching themselves talk about
watching themselves. People love to talk about themselves, and they hate it when it shows up in print.
I think that's a part, I think when you're talking about yourself, you get very carried away with what you're saying. And then when you take a step back and watch yourself, it's kind of scary to see how self-absorbed people. Sometimes they can be, myself included.
Oh yeah, and of course myself. We lose perspective. But also people, when they talk, they don't think about the consequences of what they're saying, and then they say it, and then I quote it, or someone else quotes it, and then they really sense the consequences of what they're saying.
Yeah, I think also people think that they have control over what they say when they're saying it, but then when someone else is
writing
able to kind of add their own input around it, it's scary for some people. I mean, there's definitely an art to journalism, though. So it's a matter of, when you're writing something when you're quoting someone, it's a matter of actually, conveying your interviewee, conveying what they're saying in an appropriate way, but then also kind of understanding what they're actually saying. You have to
from your own perspective.
Right. Also, when I was first starting out, as I said, I was a philosophy major, so I knew how to BS really well. I wrote lots of papers, and I knew how to just turn 3 pages into 10 pages. So when I was starting out the journal, I worked with the editors, and there was a lot of work that we had to do. I had to cut my stories down heavily.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You won't realize that in journalism, there's only room for the most important things. You can't add anything else. Unless it's a column, which, I was pretty good at columns. but there really isn't room for anything else. You
Yeah.
have to. It's you know. So it took me a while, but I learned how to do it.
That's what I love about having a blog and not having a boss, is that I can go as long as I want.
Yeah.
So
You can't, but your posts are pretty short anyway, so.
yeah, they are now, but they used to be much longer, and they occasionally are when I still get involved in something. They'll just go for pages and pages.
You broke a major story a little while back, right? I think I remember.
I've broken a few.
You've
I
broken
don't
a lot of
remember.
stories, yeah.
I
So
don't
do you
know
still
which one.
find yourself doing that? Just doing that
Well,
hard-hitting journalism?
in not nearly so much. There's never been a Matt Drudge of the Jewish world. There's never been one essential website or blog
Right.
for the to consistently
You
break
can't agree on
stories.
anything, though.
Yeah, and for whatever reason there hasn't been. And I kind of approached it a little bit from maybe 04 to 07. A little bit. I approached that. I was never a read that you had to read every day, but I consistently broke stories. And then some things happened in 07. I realized I couldn't, the future was very dark as far as making a living from blogging.
Right.
Like, I'd just been scraping by for years, and now the recession was hitting.
Right.
And it was very dark.
But your website saw a lot of traffic, though, so.
Yeah, but I still realized that, the end was nigh and there had to be some changes made. So I
Right.
started training for a new profession in January of 09, teaching Alexander technique, which is a totally impractical profession, at least for me.
What is that exactly?
Like
That's
a really
hard
hard sell. And
That's
so
like that's like understanding how, or just like relaxing your. Or I don't really know. I just read a little bit about it, but it's just kind of.
I'd love to talk about the Alexander technique. I can talk about it all day long. I actually found out about it one sentence in Neil Strauss's book, The Game. You ever read The Game?
I used to watch the show, actually, the Pickup Artist. That was really funny. You ever watch it?
No, I haven't.
On VH1, it was with this guy named Mystery.
Yeah.
so
I read his book too.
Yeah, I never read.
But you never read the book?
No.
Well, there's one sentence in there. No, there's one sentence in his sequel, The Rules of the Game, that mentions the Alexander technique. And so I read it, and it recommended studying something like the Alexander technique so that you'd have better posture. And I used to always have really bad posture. And
As you say that.
Right. So it'd make you more successful with women, and it also said it would help with the voice, and I'd often had voice problems. And so it had various health
Your
benefits.
voice is like too deep, or
No, actually, it was the opposite. In high school, I broadcast on the community access channel on cable TV, and they called me the squeaking deacon. Like, it would squeak. It was like not pleasant. And I worked for 3 years in radio, and it was a problem there too. And it's a particular psychological issue for me because my father's such an accomplished public speaker, and I could never get him to teach me how he was able to project his voice effortlessly. I would strain, and the more I'd strain, the worse my voice would sound. And he'd say abdominal breathing and this and that. I could never get what he was saying. So I had, my time in radio, like every month I tried harder and my voice got worse. So it was like totally humiliating. So I'd always had these voice issues.
your voice seems fine now.
It's now, after 3 years of Alexander technique teacher training. So those various things propelled me into studying the technique. So the technique is a way of noticing how you respond to stimuli and letting go of those responses that don't serve you. So, for instance, one of the most common reactions to stimuli is the fight or flight reflex, which is like if a loud noise goes off, there's a universal reaction. The head rotates forward, pushes forward, rotates back, compressing the neck, shoulders hunched, the whole torso. This is the fight or flight reflex. And this is maybe a great place to fight out of, and even to launch a flight out of. But if you get stuck there, a lot of people get stuck here, like this, all the time. And the older they get, the more stuck they are. And so the more entangled they are in their habits. So the Alexander technique helps you to notice what you're doing.
Interesting.
And then if you're doing things that are hurting you, it shows you how to let them go. So it's really a technique of subtraction.
And who is Alexander?
So he was an actor, an Australian actor who lost his voice, and he sat down in a room full of mirrors and kind of noticed what he was doing. But when he tried to project, he would tighten his neck, kind of compress his torso, and put a lot of strain on his larynx because he was tightening his neck and compressing his torso. And so as he learned to let go of that, he was able to speak and project his voice effortlessly and not lose it even and he was speaking to a rowdy room of tin miners in Australia. He was Australian. And so he moved to England after discovering this technique, became like a voice teacher, and he was kind of known as the breathing man. And he was making the equivalent of $1 million a year within a couple of years of moving to England, just teaching people. So it's been around about 120 years.
How many other specialists or trainers are there?
We call ourselves teachers because we're not like chiropractors or massage therapists where the student is passive or the patient is passive and the chiropractor cracks them or the masseuse massages them or the acupuncturist puts needles in them. We teach people, so we don't really do anything for them. We just help them notice. So we call ourselves teachers, and we regard it as an educational model rather than a therapeutic medical model. And so there are about 4,000 in the world, more than 600 in Israel.
Wow.
So when you get into it, it's so intoxicating that it can serve as a substitute religion. So that's my theory why so many Alexander teachers are secular Jews.
Interesting.
Not many Orthodox Jews. I'm maybe the only Orthodox Jewish Alexander teacher in the United States. There are a few in Israel, but I think I may be the only one in the United States. There are about 50 or so Alexander Technique teachers in Los Angeles, probably a couple of hundred in New York, about 4,000 around the world.
And you have a few students?
I have a few students, but I found it hard to get students. One is it's generally hard because people have to be willing to do the work.
Right.
So you can go to a chiropractor and get fixed, or a masseuse and get fixed, or an acupuncture and get fixed, and you don't have to do anything.
Right.
You just go there and they crack you.
But that's only a temporary fix.
But that's only a temporary fix. So we work with people on their habits.
Right.
Like your back's weak from sitting in a chair all the time, so your typical pattern is this.
Right.
And then the older you get, the more weak you'll get, and the more hunched and collapsed you'll get, and the more difficult the task of daily life will be, from sitting to standing and driving in a car. Okay, so let's say you work out. You've got these problems. Let's say Jay Firestone starts working out. So you've got all these...
I might already work out.
Okay, let's say you work out more.
Okay.
But you work out, and yet you find it hard to sit up straight.
Right.
Your back is weak. Even though you do all this workout, your back is weak. So even though with some effort you can sit up straight for a few minutes while we focus the attention on you, soon you'll be back to your slump. Where you'll be collapsing down because your back is weak, it's not used to supporting yourself, and the back is weak because you sit in chairs so much.
Right.
Sitting in a chair is horrible for you. Yeah. Weakens the back, puts a lot of stress on the spine, it kind of compresses you and causes a lot of trouble.
Is it just sitting in a chair, or is it just sitting in general? Like if you were to sit on a ball or something, like one of those...
There are better and worse ways of sitting, but all sitting's bad for you.
Okay.
So that's a lot better than this.
Right.
Because when you have back support, you get lazy, you use the back support, your back gets weaker, the more you need the back support, and it's a vicious cycle.
Right.
So it's 50% better to sit without back support.
Okay.
Because that way you have to use it. But okay, let's just say you work out. You will still take your ingrained unnecessary tension patterns into your workouts. So you'll do your workouts with these ingrained tension patterns. Your workouts may still do you good, or they may just ingrain your bad habits even worse. So many people actually result of working out is they're in no better shape. Like you take someone with all these destructive pull-down tension patterns and give them exercise, and they may initially feel better, but eventually their habits will just get stronger and stronger.
Right.
And same with yoga. Like I see a lot of people kind of limp into yoga with their various aches and pains, and then they limp out of yoga and they feel like, oh, I did something to make myself better and help my posture. But no, you just ingrain your bad habits. So you see everything they're doing, you see them tightening their neck, compressing the torso, because we all tend to react to stimuli in predictable patterns. So whatever your reactions are to sitting and working on a computer will be very similar to you speaking publicly, driving a car, chopping vegetables, or whatever you do, you're going to take the same tension patterns. So when Video J works out, he takes the same tension patterns, and working out is not going to, it's not going to solve the problem. It may not even ameliorate the problem. It may actually make it worse. I'm not saying it is because I haven't seen you. I don't know exactly what's going on with you.
Well, I can bench press about 4,000.
Right.
So.
You can bench press, like someone can bench press a lot of weight, and yet their back can still be weak in various ways so that they can't sit comfortably in a store. So, we work with people to notice what their unnecessary tension patterns are, and it's not a quick fix. It takes time.
It's not just about your back. You said it helps your voice and your
yeah. Well, because
when
you'll notice that when you're slumping,
right,
you're having some voice strain, as we were talking tonight,
mm-hmm.
and because everything was kind of collapsed.
Right.
That's kind of your pattern is to
well,
collapse, and when you collapse, it puts pressure on the larynx, and you notice when you put your cup down, like the head tips back and compresses. Right. There are more joints in the neck than anywhere in your body. So when the neck compresses, which is like a habitual response you have to stimuli, your whole torso will compress because there are joint systems connecting with your neck throughout your torso. So when you've got this habit of tipping the head back and compressing, which is sending all this compression throughout your body. What were you going to say?
No, I mean, I definitely know that I do that. However, it's funny that I sometimes mumble, just to talk. But when I do the video with you, I'm always very I'm upright. And,
right. Then you're up,
and
I'm
doing
it.
And I do it, and I know what I'm doing, and not even, it's kind of a show.
But did you feel some voice strain earlier in the show?
I think so.
I was hearing it.
Yeah.
And it's because when you collapse, when
you should say something next time,
I'll work with you a little bit as we're doing the show. When we collapse, then the lungs don't have as much room to breathe.
Okay.
And they don't have as much room to expand. And when you kind of collapse down on the larynx, like when the head tips back and the neck compresses, so you'll notice the difference in the quality of my voice now as my head tips back. So my name is Luke Ford. I come from Australia. I was born in 1966. I came to California when I was 11. Notice how much more thin and strained my voice is here than when my voice comes back to here.
Down here, yes.
So try that. So talk constantly.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Notice the strain.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, notice the difference in the quality of your voice.
Yes.
So when the neck's tight or compressed, it puts pressure on the larynx, and you'd lose your voice after a while.
I actually thought about taking a voiceover class to kind of help garner more control over my voice. I have a deep voice.
Right.
I don't know. I've always thought you have a good voice. You have a good radio voice. Now you should do podcasts too.
Yeah, but I used to have this squeaky voice.
Really?
It was
even like 3 years ago. Yeah, I don't think.
It wasn't as good as it is now. Even like 2 years ago, I had some trouble projecting. It actually took quite a bit of work. But here, I'll just work with you for a couple of minutes on the show. So let's move the chair this way, because actually we do most of our work in a stool or a chair.
Okay.
So I just want you to sit down on the chair.
All right.
And then tell me
what...
what...
sign anything?
No.
Okay.
There's no... so just tell me what you notice when you stand up. You notice anything?
Not really.
Okay, I want you to stay standing up.
What should I be noticing?
I want you to notice the balance of your head and your neck and tell me if it changes when you sit down. Do you notice any change?
Not so much when I sit down.
Okay, really notice. I notice.
Maybe the back. Yeah, I'm
so not really notice.
All right, let me try again.
Yeah. Notice what's
happening. Yeah, I feel like it's...
Notice your head's tipping back.
Yes.
And your neck's compressing.
Yes.
And so try sitting down.
And doing it again. Yeah.
Yeah, notice... Now, try not to do it.
Okay.
Notice how very difficult it is.
That's really hard.
Because this habit's so ingrained of tipping the head back.
It's like you have to focus on it.
You almost can't get in and out of a chair without tipping your head back.
You actually have to try to tip your head the other direction just to kind of counteract that.
Right. What do you notice going on with your shoulder blades as you're getting in and out of the chair?
Probably tightening up and going back a little bit.
Yeah, I notice them tightening up. Notice a lot of strain
between
your shoulder blades.
I can feel it right now. I can't even not do it.
Yeah,
it's just doing it.
So this is tightening and tensing, and when this tightens and tenses, that sends tightening and tension throughout your torso. So it's so ingrained you can't not do it. You can't not tighten your torso when you get in and out of a chair.
I don't even think I know what my torso feels like when it's not tightened.
You don't. Because what you know is Jay Firestone, what you know is you, is your ingrained tension patterns. Like, if you were to let them go, you wouldn't recognize who the person was.
Yeah. It's like when I'm slouching, it feels like I'm...
That's familiar.
Let go, yeah.
I mean, that's familiar to you. So what I want to work on as a teacher is to have you react to the stimuli of getting out of a chair without tightening and compressing.
Okay.
And so what we're going to work on is not good technique for getting in and out of a chair, even though that's the form.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't care as an Alexander teacher about you getting in and out of the chair with good form, so to speak. I care about you learning to respond to stimuli in ways that don't hurt you.
Right.
Currently, you respond to stimuli with compressing the neck and your whole torso.
Yeah.
So I want to help you to stop doing that.
Okay.
So
what does that mean about someone's personality when...
Well, kind of, you're used to your tension patterns. That's who you are. And if you were to let them go, if you were to let them go, you wouldn't recognize yourself because these tension patterns have helped you get through difficult times. Like when you've had tests, difficult days at work, struggling with problems, struggling with girlfriends, struggling with parents, whatever. You've reacted to all those struggles by tightening and compressing. And tightening and compressing has helped you get through to where you are in life today. It's like, okay, I've got to hunker down and get through this.
Right.
And as you hunker down and get through things, you make yourself tighter.
Would you say this is like a Jewish problem, or is it kind of a human problem?
It's a human problem, but Jews are more human than others in the sense that they spend more time sitting down.
Yeah.
Because they tend to be well educated. And
with Jews like Woody Allen, or Larry David, I imagine there's a lot of tension there.
Right.
And anxiety, so maybe that,
Right. Well, if you're reading a book, you're usually going to do it sitting down, and then you're going to kind of collapse in on the book. Or if you use a keyboard or a computer, you're going to tend to collapse in on the keyboard. Or if you use an iPhone like this, most people BlackBerry, you're going to tend to collapse into the BlackBerry because what's going on in the BlackBerry or your iPad or the computer is so interesting it sucks you in and your whole being collapses down onto the object.
So you should teach a class, say, how to actually use your smartphone without hurting yourself.
Yeah.
I think there's probably...
because a lot of people are having neck pain.
They're noticing
neck... Because when you're texting, how many people are up, when they're texting? No, when you're texting...
Switch their fingers when they text also. Everyone texts with their thumbs. They should, like, once a week, just use their pointers.
Right, so when you... if I was to text, there's a huge stimulus. This is the stimulus.
Yeah.
And the stimulus is, notice what's happening to me? I'm collapsing down into...
How do you text safely?
Notice what you're doing. Notice your tendency to collapse and realize that this is an enormous stimulus. And try to notice what your reactions to stimuli are.
Let's say you notice it, but you still see yourself doing it. Do you have to make sure
maybe put it down and come back. Maybe, or put it aside, or just, okay, let me come back to zero. Okay, here it is. I want to read. I've got an email. I want to read my email. So I'm going to do it without collapsing down into it. So the main thing is to notice what you're doing. Once you notice what you're doing, then you can stop doing it.
And then how's it supposed to feel when you're doing it right? It's supposed to feel like you're doing it. It's supposed to be uncomfortable.
Well, it should be easier. Everything should be with more ease, but it won't initially feel easier because you've had these ingrained tension patterns over 10, 20, 30, 40 years. This is the way you're used to doing it, so the right way is going to feel wrong when you initially do it, because you're used to collapsing down around whatever the source of stimulus is. But when you're not collapsing, one of the ways you can check is by doing it on video. You can videotape yourself doing anything, and you can then check how you respond to that stimulus. But let's just have a look at what happens when you get in and out of a chair.
All right, so
I'm just going to work with you. So I'm going to use a combination of words and a very gentle touch. So what I want you to do is to think about freeing your neck. Now, that may not make much sense to you because you've got all these years of tension, so you don't know what freeing the neck is, but you do know what tightening your neck is. So you can use negative directions and just say, I am not tightening my neck. So tell yourself, you just tell yourself silently, I'm not tightening my neck. And the more gently you give yourself the directions, the more effective they are. Because if you were to hector yourself, or to give it very sternly, you tighten in response to that.
That's right. So
anything that results in unnecessary tightening, I want to diminish.
Okay.
So the whole point of this is to let go of unnecessary tightening without collapse. So it's not about relaxation, because that's collapse. Most people collapse when they relax. This is about letting go of unnecessary tension. So just think about the neck is free. So I'm going to just very gently bring my hands to your neck. And so because I've been studying this for years, when I put my hands on, you'll notice a difference. It's like I'm putting jumper cables to your central nervous system.
Yeah.
So my central nervous system is connecting with your central nervous system. I'm noticing your head coming up a little bit. You're letting go your spine and your neck and your head, letting go of a little unnecessary tension and compression, and you're starting to come up a little bit.
All right.
So, whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep telling yourself I'm not tightening my neck. And then you can even let this be free. Let this be free. I don't want you to do anything. This is all primary thought. So I just want you to think about the width across your back as well. So you're not doing anything about the width. You're just thinking about it, because just you give yourself a gentle awareness of the width across your back will be a stimulus to help you let go of unnecessary tension patterns and compression patterns. And think about not tightening your neck as you sit down.
Okay, should I sit down now?
Yeah. Just think about not tightening your neck. Yeah.
I feel a little bit. I'm tightening it.
Yeah, it's not going to feel right because you've had all these years of, now let this all be free. Let that be free. Allow the neck to be free and think of. Yeah. So let this be free. Don't hold. Just, just think about. So we want let this be free. Yeah. Don't do anything. I know, it's really weird. You're going to have a lot of tension in your arms because you spend so much time on the computer in particular. So just telling yourself, I'm going to allow my neck to be free, or use the negative directions, I'm not tightening my neck. And just stay up here. Let's not go down into the chair yet. So there's a lot of tension in your back. So I'm thinking about the width of your back. So, yeah. And so your back's kind of swayed in here. You notice that? How the back kind of sways here, gives you a little bit of a belly there.
It's not real. This is just an
optical
illusion.
Yeah, it's an optical illusion. But that's because, like most people, you tend to tip back from the hip and then compress the lower back. So that's going to give you some lower back pain, and eventually your back might even go out at times, and you might be immobilized. So let's think about the width across your back.
I have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, this is going to be good. And forget about sitting down.
Okay.
So you're just standing up. Just give me the full weight of your, don't do anything, let your arms be free. Just allow me to have the full weight of your hand and your arm. Just way of notice all the tension in your arm and see if you can let it go.
It's hard to let it go.
Yeah, it's really hard because you've got 30 years of ingrained unnecessary tension patterns.
Your body wants to control itself. Your body is trying.
See if you can let this go more. So you're right-handed, no take. Because there's a lot more tension in your right arm than your left. See if you can let it go completely.
Now, how does this affect, let's say, if something were happening and you do need that fight or flight
response? Then you use it, like when you need it. Yeah.
So you can control when you're using it or when you're not using it?
You'll automatically...
It doesn't retrain you not to use it, it just...
Right, it retrains you to let it, so you can let this go. It'll retrain you to be aware of what you're doing. So if it's helping you, then use it. But if it's not helping you, if you're using it in a business meeting, and you're going into fight or flight, that's not going to help you. See if you can let this arm go.
What helps me is that I think I have pretty good reflexes. So whenever I drop some toothpaste in the bathroom, I can catch it really quickly.
Right.
So I'm wondering, I don't want to lose that ability.
Well, that won't. I mean, this isn't going to affect your ability to catch things. It's just that when you notice yourself tightening up.
Okay, here we go. It's going to be very loose right now.
Yeah. So just see if you can let go. More control of your right arm, so that you can do things with less unnecessary tension. Because when the arm's tense, you're going to be more likely to develop carpal tunnel and other issues.
Carpal tunnel is actually quite painful. I don't have it, but I think one summer on an internship when I was in college, I think they had it.
And I'd like you to stop partway down, so you can decide when you stop.
Stop
as you come down to the chair. I want you to stop at some point. And just hang. So just hang. So this is what we call a monkey.
Uh-huh.
So when we're like catching serve, when we're getting a serve in tennis, we go into a monkey.
Yeah.
A cornerback will go into a monkey.
Mm-hmm.
This is a position we use all the time. So you should be able to hang out here for a couple of minutes. Now you may not be used to this, so you're going to get very tired.
Just my legs, right?
Or I don't know where you'll get tired, but most people tend to get tired. But this is a way of training yourself. And then come a little deeper if you can without going all the way to the chair. Just think about the width across your back, freeing the neck. And notice how your back's kind of rounding because it's weak. And so it's
Or should it be rounding?
No, you really don't want a back like that. You want a back like that. Doesn't need to be, notice, it's tensing up in here.
Whenever I try and put it straight, it tenses up.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you need
But
to
it doesn't
direct
need to do
yourself
that,
with your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about the length of your back from your lower back to out the top of your head, that will tend to straighten up your back. But if you do it, if you muscularly command yourself, it will tense up. So that's why the Alexander technique is so much about congruent direction of your movement. Because if you muscularly do it, and you can go ahead and come all the way into the stool. If you muscularly do it, and I'll just move your stool back over, and we'll go back to our regularly scheduled
It's kind of like the
programming.
It's like the Matrix a little bit, It's mind control,
Yeah, it is mind
Free your
control
mind,
because it's you're using your mind to direct how you're using yourself. So rather than just like getting lost in abstract thought, or what we really tend to get lost in is repetitive thoughts. We think the same thoughts 90% of the time, just endless loops.
Right.
So instead of getting lost in endless loops of worry or whatever, you use your thinking. Right now I'm thinking about, okay, is my neck free? Am I thinking about my head releasing away from my torso? Am I thinking about the width of across my chest, across my back? Am I directing from my hips to my knees? So when I think about my use, it's unnatural at first, but it's like installing software on your system. So eventually it becomes natural to start noticing. But without this, we don't tend to notice how we do things.
Yeah, and I'm just afraid that I'm going to be, you have me worried,
Yeah, well, if you keep going as you're going. I don't know how much back pain you have now, but it's
not really back pain.
You're going to
get
a lot of tension in your shoulders.
If I do sit-ups, I get back pain. After like the 30th sit-up.
So I bet like the tasks of daily life are not quite as easy as they were 10 years ago.
Probably not, no.
And so, in another 10 years, they're going to be even more difficult. And it's like a spiral. And you're going to get some back pain because virtually everybody sits in a chair.
This is something that every person goes through, though.
Everyone who sits in a chair for at least 8 hours a day is going to have back pain.
All right, I'm standing up tomorrow. I want to stand up.
Well, yeah, standing up is much better. Standing up or lying down is much better than sitting in a chair. And sitting in a stool is half as bad as sitting in a chair.
So I'll get a stool.
Because this way you don't get the back support. So
and one of those like big balls.
Yeah, those are wonderful. Yeah, those are wonderful.
That's a little more fun.
Yeah.
with the the handle, like you just jump around.
Oh yeah. Do they have
the office? I don't think we have it.
You don't have balls in the office yet?
No, not in the office. No. Well, I'll start something. No, that'd be fun.
So are you optimistic about the future of, say, particularly Jewish journalism, or you think we're just doomed?
Well,
there are so many layoffs. Even the Jewish Journal got smaller. The physical print product.
We did get smaller. It's an interesting question. I don't think anyone really has the answer. Personally, I'm confident. As the representative of the website, I know that's not going away.
Yeah.
And I know the paper's not going away because people still want to read. I still find I'm the web editor. I still find myself picking up the print and reading it. People like that.
Yeah, I got the print over there.
Oh, that's a good Summer Sneaks. And people like that. And it's not going away.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll never go away.
Yeah.
But I think that there are, however, there's more competition than there's ever been.
Right.
Competition, to break the latest story, to have it online first. It's a lot of pressure in actually running a website. You have to, it's 24/7, you're posting all the time, and Los Angeles is directly competing with New York, in Israel,
Yeah.
and Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and San Francisco.
Yeah.
Whereas before, the Forward, distributed to the Forward and a few
Yeah.
subscriptions here and there. The Pittsburgh Jewish Chronicle is only Pittsburgh. LA is only LA. And now
Yeah.
we're all intertwined. We're competing for the same readers. So that makes it harder, but actually makes it better because competition's good.
Yeah. What about, there's so many questions about online journalism, and here's one thing that I've noticed. Bloggers in particular will just rip off large amounts of content from
Who's
regular...
Our bloggers?
No. I'm saying bloggers in general.
Okay.
Otherwise,
No,
not the Jewish Journal bloggers, but bloggers in general will just rip off vast amounts.
That's scary.
And in a way that, and so I hear from your side, not meaning the Jewish Journal necessarily in specific, but I used to hear complaints from a guy at, what's the Jewish press service? Like JTA. Like if I quoted more than 2 paragraphs from one of the stories, I get an email.
Back.
No, I always link back.
Right.
But if I quoted like 7 paragraphs,
right,
I would get an email. And I emailed back, I said, Google is a duplicate content penalty. I'm the one who's getting hurt.
Right.
Like, he didn't seem to get it, or they didn't seem to get it.
Right.
If I quote 12 paragraphs from the Jewish Journal, I'm the one who gets hurt.
Well, do you think
because Google will send the traffic to the original source?
Right. Well, you're not getting hurt. You're not necessarily getting hurt.
Or do a little bit, or do a teeny. If I do a lot of it, I'll get hurt.
Right.
And that would diminish the amount of original content on my blog, and Google will give it less juice.
Right.
So that's what I say back to the mainstream media. Mm-hmm. Like, don't freak out if bloggers quote, huge sections of your stories, because Google penalizes duplicate content. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to see things from both sides. What's your perspective on that stuff?
Well, I just first have a question for you. Do you think that it's kind of a habit of the print mentality, that if you are an editor and you have an article and you see a competing newspaper,
picking it up, I think that's a print mentality.
It could be, yeah. So, and it's not all that different. Personally, whenever I see that someone's reused any of our blogs or any of our articles, I always send an email to the editor of that blog or that website. You can't steal everything.
Yeah.
We do love getting links, but at a certain point, I guess the web is interesting. If they're going to find that JTA article through you, and they read 7 paragraphs, I don't know if they're going to click through to read the rest of it.
Yeah.
So you're still winning.
Yeah.
You're winning, and they're not. However, like you said, that Google penalizes.
Yeah.
So I think it's given and take. I think it's really good to get your brand out there, get your content out there, but at the same time, you really have to be protective over your content. We actually just started the service called repost.us.
I just noticed that.
Our articles, you can repost the entire article.
Yeah.
So we're actually allowing that, and it embeds one of our ads, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So it's just like embedding a video. So we're okay with that.
Do you think that journalism, particularly online journalism, is economically sustainable outside of, like, the Jewish Journal is a non-profit?
Right. I think it's difficult to find that successful revenue source. It's hard. I think for one thing, we're using banner ads and email blasts, and there's a whole Groupon bubble. It's definitely we're still looking for a way to fund it. I think a lot of Jewish newspapers have fundraisers, and they have private funding, so they're okay. But as a business, as a revenue model, I think it's difficult. One of the things with the iPad, actually, I went to a conference at the University of Missouri Journalism Department last year. They have one of the best journalism departments in the world. Yeah. And it was a conference specifically on digital media and the iPad. What does the iPad mean for the future of newspapers? Mm-hmm. And we had the developer of USA Today's app speak, and with a number of other developers as well. But what he said was that when you're creating an iPad app, you need to build in an effective revenue model from the beginning. That was one of the problems with the web, is that we were all playing catch up. It was there, and there was just a rush to get all of our content available, and there was no revenue model that was built into it. It was all free immediately, so it's impossible to charge now, and it's already free. But with the iPad, with mobile devices, you can now make sense. You can charge for your app, or you can offer, a subscription service. So I think that with innovation, with new media, there's certainly a bright future in establishing more revenue for journalism.
What does the Jewish Journal charge for its app?
It's free.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's always been our mission is to serve the Jewish community through independent journalism.
Yeah.
So if we're distributing the paper for free in the community, why not to distribute the app as well?
Yeah.
And we have ads there also. Right now, we have an ad for our magazine, Tribe Journal, and for Facebook. So we've built into the platform a way to make money.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice any difference in the attitude to the Jewish Journal between, say, people over 50 and, say, people under 30?
I have a lot of friends who read the journal. I signed them all up for our newsletter. Yeah. And they're interested in a certain type of story. I don't think people necessarily under 30 are checking the Israeli newspapers all the time. It's different. That mentality is a bit different. Whereas people over 50, and I don't really know this. I'm just kind of guessing right now, but I think that they're a little more used to it because they've been reading the paper much longer. So I would say that maybe that people older than 50 are more dedicated in a certain sense, but I think certainly with our blogs and our mobile apps, we're trying to reach those younger people. Yeah. I don't know if that necessarily answers your question, but I haven't necessarily studied our demographics so much. Our marketing team does that much better than I am. Right.
Yeah. I was just wondering because usually readers of Jewish-themed publications tend to be much older than than the average.
I think in print they're older. On the web they're a lot younger.
Yeah. So, which parts of your work do you find most meaningful?
I have to say, breaking those news stories. I would say for me it was Gilad Shalit. Yeah. That was kind of the most meaningful experience I've had in the past 5 years. My team and I think he was released at around 2 or 3 in the morning LA time, and we took shifts kind of covering it. So we had, because you can't expect us to be up all night, especially when there was a lot of news following it. So we're posting stories from Reuters, from JTA, offering our own opinions, and getting the local reaction up until it happened, and then we switch, and then we're posting it as it's happening. And for me, basically since I was out of college, he was in captivity. So this is a story that started when I started at the Jewish Journal, and to watch it develop from little Facebook postings, and then it kind of reached a broader audience, and then it was the biggest thing ever. I still have the New York Times newspaper from when he was released, but and then once he's released, you see posts on Facebook that people are joyed. There was a Modest Yahoo video, or it was a video of the slides mixed with a Modest Yahoo video one day, and everyone has their own take on it, and that for me was like the culmination. Mm-hmm. It was like the entire Jewish community was united, and that was just to see it on all fronts was amazing. I did break a story a few months ago in Vegas. I happened to catch Sheldon Adelson.
Yeah. And that got picked up nationally.
That was really exciting. That was pretty much, I just got lucky for the. I mean, it's always about being in the right place at the right time, And I saw him. I was there for the Federation Tribe Fest. It was at his hotel, and he was speaking in in the panel that I was attending. He wasn't actually on the panel. He just raised a question, or he raised his hand, didn't ask a question, kind of talked for a while, but no one could stop him because he showed Middleton. It's his room, you know.
Right.
And he left, and a whole bunch of people just followed him. I grabbed my camera. I ran right up to him. I said, "Hi, I'm Jay Firestone with the Jewish Journal. Can I ask a few questions?" And then he just unloaded. It was gold right there.
Yeah.
It was really, it was like I hit the jackpot, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But no, he was a really nice guy, and he had a lot of things to say. And I got back to Los Angeles. I edited that video as quickly as I could, and we got it online, sent it around to as many people as we could. And next thing I know, I get phone calls from my parents that it was on I guess Morning Joe and on Rachel Maddow and on Huffington Post.
Yeah.
You know, it was exciting. I actually just heard it on NPR last week. It was
really
good again.
Oh,
but luckily I was out of town for the whole thing, so I was happy to be away.
Yeah.
Yeah. NBC, someone from NBC actually called me and asked for my permission, so I just let them use it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was really exciting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The adrenaline rush
It's
from
such
breaking
an
a story.
yeah. That's the most exhilarating thing. Yeah. And there hasn't really been a lot of like crazy news right now. It's starting to pick up a little. Not that it's a good thing, but you know,
right.
when
Usually
you're a
when there's
journalist,
crazy news,
it makes it more interesting. But obviously, you don't think about your job like, I hope something bad's going to happen.
Right.
Just so it's interesting. You know, you don't want that, but you want something interesting as well.
How has being a professional Jew affected your voluntary participation in Jewish life?
That's a good question. I think for a little while I needed a break. You know, like it's so much. You know, you don't really know what to do with yourself. But at the same time, I was new here. You know, I moved here a few years ago, so I really didn't know a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of forced myself to go to those events. You know, like the young Jewish singles events, the young events, just to meet people. And I think personally, I found the balance, and I have a lot of friends from college now who are out here, and I've done my secular things, and I've done I do my Jewish things, and you know, working at the Jewish Journal, it's not the most Jewish thing in the world. You know, we're reading news stories. Yeah. We're reading news stories. You know, there are non-Jews that work there, so I'm interacting with non-Jews, and it's
not so bad.
Yeah, it's a nice place to be though. Mm-hmm. But yes, to answer your question, like now, I'm just for the past few years, I'm just like getting back into going to shul more often, and you know, there was a while where I was actually keeping strict kosher for now I'm back at the balance where I was before. I went to college, but I think it's just a matter of understanding who you are. You know, when you're in your 20s, it's a growing. It's personal growth. So, you know, now I'm at the tail end of that. So.
Do you remember you did a video about shaving during?
Yeah, for Lag BaOmer.
Yeah, for Lag BaOmer, and then you got a letter from the head of the Orthodox Union.
Yeah, he wasn't too happy that I took a blade to my face. Yeah, that was interesting. You know, I think I certainly didn't do it on purpose, but I shaved the way I would shave. I shave with a razor blade, and I didn't mean to offend anyone. In retrospect, I think what would have been funnier is if I had still done that, but then shown a clip afterwards where I had the barber using an electric shave, and then adding the cream on, so it would have just given the illusion. But I certainly didn't. Yeah, that's one thing. You put yourself out there, you're open to a lot of criticism. So I think we had.
Did you tire of putting yourself out there with all your videos?
I think what's made it more difficult was when I became web editor. There's a lot more work to be done. And I started seeing the overall picture of videos online and trying to open it up. We did, right when I started as web editor back in March of 2009, with Ori Arfa, we did a web series called The Chosen Dish. Yeah. That was fun. It was a cooking competition to find the best matzo ball soup in the city. It was interesting. It's a 5-part series, and we were like filming the finals during my first week, and it was just so stressful, and it was just I realized I just couldn't be that character 24/7 while still having to manage a site.
Yeah.
And that was when we only had like 6 blogs.
Yeah.
And we were posting like maybe 6 stories a day. Now we post like 30 to 40 stories a day with like 80 blogs. So.
Yeah. So many beautiful women write for the Jewish Journal. Danielle Barron and Reed Offer just come to mind. But yeah, you did that series with Reed.
Reed's great. Yeah. She's very talented. A lot of great ideas. And Danielle's a great writer too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been with. See, I think Danielle started just after I started, so we've been there for both about 5 years.
So what kind of pull does working in the Jewish Journal have when you're going out to a Jewish singles event? Like you must notice, certain attributes that guys have get a lot of pull with women.
Well, it's not like I'm working for like a Fortune 500 company, but I think
what happens.
Well, when they ask me, like, what do I do? I say I'm a journalist.
Yeah.
Who do you write for? I say the Jewish Journal. I manage the website, and I run our mobile apps, and and I interest them. So I think people are interested in the community. I think it might even be the same thing if I worked for another Jewish organization. I think the people who care about the community really care about what I do.
Yeah.
And if they're not familiar with the Jewish Journal, then it doesn't really mean as much to them. But you're asking me if it helps me get girls in the community. It does not. I don't. And it doesn't hurt, but I don't think it helps.
Does working at the Jewish Journal seem too parochial for some Jews? Do you notice that? It's like, that's too Jewish. Do you notice that?
Well, if they read us, then I don't think they would.
No, but I guess, I guess.
That's happened to me before. Yeah, people think that, you're a super Jew.
Yeah.
But I've always been a super Jew. So before I was at the Journal, I was involved with my Hillel at University of Wisconsin, and before that, in high school, I was in USY. So I've always kind of had Judaism as like the center point of my life. So to me, it just feels natural. And I've always been the super Jew of my friends, and I think that's kind of funny. But
what's more important to you, being Jewish or being human?
I think in order to be Jewish, you'd have to be human. That's a cop-out of an answer. And I know you're not looking for that, but I think my value, if there's a Venn diagram, and you have being human, you have being Jewish, and where it overlaps, and that's the most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are certain things about being Jewish that don't really appeal to me, like the shaving. I'm okay with doing that, right? But I wouldn't necessarily. I actually don't mix milk and meat, because the law that I agree with. You shouldn't cook a baby in its mother's milk. I think that's a human thing. So I take the most. I guess I look to Judaism as kind of a guide for how you should live as a human being.
What about being Jewish versus being American? What's more important to you? Do you identify more as Jewish or more as American?
I think I identify more as Jewish. I'm neurotic. I'm neurotic.
Right.
Jew, So that's. But I'm not saying that all Jews are neurotic. That's just me, and that's my idols are
Woody Allen,
and Larry David. So, but I think that if you were to ask me what's more important, freedom or being Jewish, like democracy, I think that's a more interesting question, because then it's more of it's not even necessarily being Israeli or being Jewish. Are you in support of values that help all people? And I don't know if Judaism certainly doesn't apply to everyone.
Yeah.
But I would say no. Yeah, I'm more of a Jew than an American, but certainly extremely American.
Yeah.
I only speak. I don't speak Spanish or French. If I were to go to France, I'd still speak English.
Right.
So I think that's a very American quality, not being able to speak another language.
Right.
So.
Do you believe in God?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. But I think I have a different take on what God, I find myself, and I actually did Modeh this morning, but I find myself talking to God a lot, just in my head, just like,
right.
It's just like normal things, like praying, but I believe in one kind of essence that kind of binds us off. I was a philosophy major, so I asked those metaphysical questions like, what's beyond the universe? What were we before the Big Bang? What were we before creation? And you have to think that you can go crazy if you try and really answer those questions. You have to understand that there's one life force and essence that kind of binds everything, whether it's God, whether it's science, whatever it is. That's what I believe in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and how about you?
Yeah, I believe in God. I think I pretty much always believed in God, except for when I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
You get through that.
Yeah, it's hard to grasp. It's a tough concept. God is, it's really, it's intense. I think the one thing is I do believe in a good God,
right?
And that's, I think, certainly, I believe there's a God. And I believe that she is good.
Do you believe that somebody can convert to Judaism, or are they fooling themselves?
Well, I do believe that they can convert, but I've never converted, so I don't know what that process is like. How was it for you? What was the turning point that made you want to convert?
I remember it was December of 1989. I'd encountered Dennis Prager on the radio about 15 months before. So I'd been listening to him for about that much amount of time, and I read his book, The 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism, and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life, because I'd been raised Seventh-day Adventist and had many very happy memories there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was trying to figure things out, and in December of 1989, I was staying with my brother, who's a very vibrant atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was in a very secular environment.
Mm-hmm.
And previous to that, I'd stayed with my sister, who's an evangelical Christian,
mm-hmm.
and I'd stayed with some friends who were also evangelical Christians.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'd been secular myself for the previous 4 or 5 years after being raised Seventh-day Adventist. And so, confluence of all those events, I think by Christmas time of 1989, I decided, being secular is not for me. I can't be a Christian. I'm going to convert to Judaism.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it took a few years, but there were no Jews around where I was. I was in rural Australia at the time.
Wow.
But yeah, just living in that secular environment.
How much did you study?
Well, I read the 9 Questions People Ask About Judaism, and then it recommends about 80 books in the back, and I went through almost all of them.
Wow.
And then I listened to a lot of lectures on cassette tape back then. This was maybe before the internet really got going. And then I moved back. I was chronically ill during these years, basically from 1988 to 94. And so I was living with my parents in rural Northern California, north of Sacramento. And I found some Jews in Grass Valley. There's a small Jewish community in Grass Valley that I got in contact with. My mother found a Jewish doctor, and so put me in touch with a doctor who put me in touch with a small Jewish community in Grass Valley, put me in touch with the leader of that community who was Israeli, secular, and I called up all excited about Judaism, and he's like, what's this about? And I didn't get that. But I was like really excited. I was for Brenta, to use a Yiddish term for excited, and so I was like sharing all these materials with her, and then she got excited, and then she was married to a non-Jew.
Oh, really?
And then he got excited too, and so they ended up converting to Orthodox Judaism and moving to downtown Sacramento to be close to the shore.
Wow.
So, and then some mutual friends also made that same journey. So I was like an instigator of getting these like pretty secular Jews in Grass Valley to like turn on to Judaism, and so I initially converted in 1993 through a Reform rabbi who was the closest rabbi to me. And then later converted to Orthodox Judaism, and I've lived in Pico Robertson since 1994, which is predominantly an Orthodox community.
What's your favorite kosher restaurant in the neighborhood?
I'm not a foodie.
Are you not a foodie?
Like, I eat the same food almost every day. Every morning I have oatmeal,
Mm-hmm.
and almost every evening I have raw oats. And I just like pour on like sugar-free chocolate syrup.
Wow.
And like black sesame seeds and chia seeds, and put some like sugar-free almond milk on it. So I want to lose weight, and I figure if I eat the same food every day, I'll get sick of it and I'll lose weight. So I'm not sure how it's working, how effective that is, but yeah, I'm not particularly attuned to food. So favorite kosher restaurant, I like Milk and Honey. I like Milky Way.
Yeah, those are both good. I just went to Schnitzel this evening. Whenever I'm in the neighborhood, I make a point to eat at one of the kosher restaurants.
I'm vegetarian, so
okay, so that, yeah.
Yeah.
There's,
I love Mexican food. I mean American Mexican. So I like the pizza station. I like the tacos and
There's a
burritos.
kosher truck. The kosher.
I haven't tried it. I'm not sure if that's any good, but I like Pizza Station getting tostada. Because I just love beans, guacamole, cheese, sour cream.
That's great.
I am so happy.
Yeah.
So happy.
It's good food.
And I love smoothies. Smoothies rock.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I should ask you that I haven't asked you?
Well, you can ask me what's coming up for the.
What's coming up for the Jewish Journal?
So as I said, you can download the latest update of our iPad app right now.
Right.
We're one of the only Jewish newspaper, the first Jewish newspaper to have an iPad app.
Okay.
And we're the only Jewish newspaper to have an iPad, iPhone, Android, and Kindle Fire app.
Oh.
So if you have any of those devices, I imagine you probably do, unless you have a BlackBerry, no offense.
Right.
Please download them. We're looking into a lot of other cool platforms soon. We're going to be live streaming a lot more things. So if you have any ideas at all, we're always interested in your ideas. Please email me at webmaster@jewishjournal.com. And if you have any further questions, you can ask me. You can email Luke, and he can relay them to me, and I'll try and answer them too.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
Jay.
much. It was
great to hang with you,
Yeah,
man.
you too.
After talking to you online
Yeah,
for a few years.
I feel like I'm my voice.
Expanding.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. I'm going to turn this off.
All right.